Deep inside the Japanese countryside, 5-year-old Minato is helping his grandfather arrange a few things in their paternal house. He excitedly carries flower pots to the shrine in the house, unaware of a girl playing with a ball in another room. He follows his grandfather's instructions to place the flower pots under the shrine and then puts 2 packets of snacks there as well. As he prays with his grandfather after that, he hears the sound of the girl running behind him. But when he turns around, there is no one. Minato turns his attention back to the altar, and to his surprise, the snacks have vanished. He asks his grandpa why did he eat everything so quickly when he has diabetes, but just then, he turns around and sees the creepy doll-like girl running away. She turns towards Minato to thank him with a smile and then vanishes into the air. Minato is scared and clings to his grandfather for safety, but the old man is really happy that his grandson can finally see spirits that ordinary people can't. He tells Minato that he can only see the good spirits right now, but that is more than enough. Minato asks him who was the odd girl just now, and his grandfather replies that she is a house spirit who has been living in this place for centuries. The old man asks him not to get mad if the mischievous spirit steals his snacks sometimes and instead actively share his snacks with her. He tells Minato that he has a gift that most people don't even know about, and someday it will surely help him out. Fast forward 15 years later, Minato is an adult who has got his first job as the caretaker of an abandoned house. He gets off the bus in a distant village with greenery and rice fields as far as the eye goes. Minato follows the hand-drawn map to reach his destination through the slow-moving village and soon reaches a lavish mansion that is overflowing with an evil aura. Minato thinks that he is just seeing things and rubs his eyes, and the evil aura stops being visible to him. He doesn't care about it and goes to unlock the door, but just as his hand-drawn map touches the evil aura, his handwriting glows and the evil aura is dispersed. Minato gets a little shock as well, but he just thinks that it is the built-up static charge in the gate. However, what surprises him is that his handwriting has suddenly become faint. Just then, a gust of wind blows away the piece of paper from his hands into the forest. The paper hits a forgotten shrine under a giant tree and clears the evil aura surrounding it as well, and the god residing inside it awakens from his deep slumber. Meanwhile, Minato explores the house and finds that it has a pretty big garden and he will need help from a professional to get rid of the weeds. He then gets to work, making memos and to-do lists while he starts unpacking the boxes and talking to his mother at the same time like a multitasking pro. Minato asks her if he is really the best person to look after such a big house, and his mom tells him that his dad's distant uncle built this as his retirement home. But he died before he could retire, so they are looking after it as family. Minato asks her why don't they sell this house already because it is prime real estate, and she replies that they had a few people over to see it, but all of them refused without telling the reasons. Minato gets busy cleaning the house after the call. Unaware that the evil energy from before has returned, it gets attracted towards the notes he has posted on the fridge, but as soon as the evil aura touches Minato's handwriting, it gets purified instantly. Meanwhile, Minato finishes cleaning the house and goes to take a look at the garden again, and to his surprise someone has left a bunch of flowers there. He is confused about who would leave him welcome gifts like this when he sees a dog-like face in the bushes that vanishes immediately. The next day, Minato calls over a gardener who clears out the weeds for him and then asks if he would like to plant some flowers in his garden. Minato tells him that he is just a caretaker, so he can't take decisions like that, and the gardener is a bit demotivated by that. Suddenly, an evil aura surrounds his shoulder, and he complains that his shoulder has been hurting for a week now. Coincidentally, a piece of paper with Minato's handwriting flies towards him at the same time and purifies the evil energy, taking away the gardener's pain. Minato thinks that this guy must have a few screws loose to act like this in front of strangers, but then he notices that his handwriting has faded again, and there is a wild herb placed on his porch. He asks the gardener if he brought it, and he refuses, making Minato wonder what exactly is going on in this house. The next morning, he finds some wild berries on his porch and sees a glimpse of something jumping over his fence. This reminds him of the time when the spirit girl left a 4-leafed clover as a thank you gift for the snacks, and he realizes what is happening. He decides to prepare some gifts for the unknown spirit and immediately goes shopping for wine and sweets. As he lays them out on his porch, he wonders if the spirit will like it. Just then, the spirit arrives there, and on sniffing the delicious scents, it reveals its true form of a majestic white dog. The dog spirit greets Minato, who freaks out on seeing an animal talk. But the dog takes offense at that, declaring that he is Yama, the god of the nearby mountain. Minato immediately calms down on hearing that because obviously meeting a god is more likely than finding a talking dog. Yama is shocked by how nonchalant Minato is about meeting a god, but he is more curious about the items in front of him. Minato says that he bought these to thank him for the gifts he left earlier, and Yama immediately begins relishing some fried meat. Minato asks him if he would like some wine too, but Yama tells him that he is still recovering his strength, so the spirit doctor has told him not to drink alcohol. Minato pours some water for him instead, and after drinking it, Yama thanks Minato for everything he has done till now. Yama explains that while he was weakened, evil spirits became stronger and took over the entire village. They even binded him, but then Minato purified all the evil energy and freed him. Minato asks him to elaborate, and Yama replies that his handwriting exorcises evil. Everything makes sense to Minato now, but just then the gardener returns because he forgot a tool. Minato panics and wonders how he will explain this glorious overgrown puppy with him. But turns out, no one apart from Minato can see Yama. Minato immediately notices that Yama's bowl is empty and decides to pour him sparkling water instead of regular water. Yama gets the jitters on tasting the sparkling water, and he low-key likes what the fizzy drink does to his body. While he drinks, Minato asks him how can his handwriting fight evil spirits. Yama asks him if someone ever praised his handwriting, and he recalls that a long time ago, a stranger actually praised him. He had carved a nameplate for his family's hot spring business because it was a school assignment. One day, a mysterious customer told him that he had very special handwriting and told him not to take the nameplate down ever. He urged Minato to make more nameplates for his house and even requested him to make one for him. Yama realizes that the mysterious man must have the ability to see the spiritual energy, and Minato replies that he got such a push from his words that now making nameplates is his hobby. He has made some for this house as well, and Yama tells him to immediately put them on the front and rear doors of the house. As soon as Minato does that, a powerful barrier is formed around the house. Minato is taken aback by this, and Yama explains that this barrier will prevent any sort of evil energy from approaching this house. A few days later, Yama visits Minato again to eat some snacks. He suddenly starts glowing while eating, and Minato wonders if he is going to evolve like a Pokemon. Yama tells him that his power is returning because Minato feeds him and respects him, and Minato decides to give him even more respect than usual to make him shine brighter. However, he can't handle all that divine glow and asks Yama to turn it off. At the same time, in another part of the village, a team of exorcists is fighting against evil spirits in an abandoned warehouse. Their leader manages to delete most of the evil spirits, but one of them escapes and heads towards the main village. The head exorcist chases after it and worries that the spirit will attack Minato because he is in its way, but surprisingly, the spirit vanishes as soon as it hits Minato. The exorcist is surprised to see this and asks Minato if he is alright. Minato is on the verge of crying because his shopping list just faded, and now he doesn't know what he had written on it. The exorcist can't explain anything to him yet, so he helps Minato remember his shopping list by playing dumb charades with him, while the purified evil spirit rolls away as a glowing silver ball. At the same time, Yama is alone in Minato's home, and the empty and barren garden personally offends him. So he decides to use his power to renovate it, and the next morning, Minato wakes up to green grass and full ponds in his garden. He is mesmerized by the view and thanks Yama for the gift, but he is surprised when he sees that the mountain god has shrunk in size. Yama replies that he became smaller because he used his power, but he will grow back to normal size in no time. However, a few days pass after that, and Yama stops showing up at Minato's place. Minato is worried about him, when one day, Yama appears again, but this time, he has become even smaller. Minato is surprised to see that and asks how much power did he use to turn into a puppy again, and just then, 3 squirrel-beaver hybrids come running after him. Minato freaks out, thinking that Yama was getting freaky with his spirit wife, and they made some spirit children. But Yama tells him that he used his power to create minions to serve him. The minions introduce themselves as Seri, Tori, and Atsu, and Minato decides to treat them to some delicious dessert for their first meeting. The 3 minions relish the sweets and declare that Minato is their bestest friend in the world. They eat a lot and fall asleep on the porch, and in the meantime, Yama has regained his power and original size. He senses that Minato has a visitor, and it turns out to be the same exorcist from before, who is sweating buckets on seeing the holy energy around the mansion. Minato welcomes him inside, and the man introduces himself as Haruma, a professional exorcist. Minato finds it hard to believe that exorcists really exist, and Haruma says that he has much greater power than anyone he ever met. He reminds Minato how he unknowingly purified an evil spirit in the market, and says that recently, the number of evil spirits is increasing, and they don't have enough exorcists to deal with them. That is why he wants to buy Minato's talismans, but he remarks that he doesn't have any. Yama tells him that Haruma wants paper with his handwriting and then reveals that the exorcist doesn't have enough spiritual power to see him. Minato tells Haruma that he only has his shopping list, leaving him stunned. He can't believe that it is enough to exorcise spirits, but that is all Minato knows, so he decides to make some talismans for Haruma. He writes the names of his favorite adult actresses on the pages, and Haruma spits his tea because he was expecting some spell or something. However, he finds that Minato's handwriting is glowing with an incredible amount of spiritual energy, and he gladly accepts it. He offers a thick bundle of cash as payment, but Minato refuses, saying that he simply wrote random things on paper. Haruma refuses to back down and insists Minato keep this money as advance payment, and when Yama tells him to accept the money, Minato stops resisting. However, he feels that he is ripping Haruma off, so he draws a pentagram on his hand for extra good luck. Just then, Haruma gets a call from his agency, and he immediately rushes to help them fight Ghost Freak from Ben 10. His teammates tell him that even he can't fight such a strong spirit himself, and Haruma freaks out as the spirit attacks him. But then suddenly, the pentagram on his hand glows and the evil spirit is evaporated instantly. A few days later, Minato is calculating his income and expenses, and long story short, he is as broke as me. He looks at the ceiling as if someone will tell him what to do, and thinks how Haruma gave him a good amount of money, but he burned through it really quickly. The reasons behind that are his guests and their cravings for delicious snacks. Minato watches the three minions of Yama eating some delicious cream-filled buns, and they thank him. They say that such tasty snacks must be expensive, and he replies that they don't need to worry about it because he wants his guests to have only the highest quality items. At the same time, Yama enjoys some traditional Japanese sweets from a 200-year-old shop that cost a lot as well. Minato can't tell his guests that he is getting bankrupt because of their gluttony, and he can't buy cheap stuff either because they start sulking on seeing low-quality stuff. Unaware of that, Yama keeps enjoying his snacks when suddenly, he notices a mysterious creature in the garden pond. The next day, Minato goes to the market for grocery shopping and stops in front of a cafe looking for part-time workers. He wonders if he should get a job to buy more snacks for Yama and his minions, but he realizes that he will never make enough money with a part-time job. Suddenly, he sees a raffle going on nearby and buys a ticket to test his luck. He wins the first prize on his first roll itself and gets 100,000 yen as his reward. Everyone is surprised by that, and Minato realizes that he can use this money to buy some high-quality wine for Yama. He goes to a traditional liquor store, thinking that he will buy something really amazing. But as soon as he enters the store, the employees throw confetti on his face because today is their 333rd year anniversary, and he is their 333th customer of the day. They congratulate him for winning a special wine set, and Minato doesn't understand what is going on. By the time he returns home, he has his hands full of other items that he won through his luck. He asks Yama if it is the result of his power because one has to be God's favorite child for this level of luck. Yama replies that it is not his power, but rather the power of another divine guest. He points to a tortoise with a miniature island on his back standing atop the boulder in the lake. Yama tells Minato that this is Reiki, one of the 4 holy beasts that bring good luck. Minato is surprised at having another divine guest and asks why did the holy tortoise come here. Yama replies that Reiki says that he got help from Minato and he is here to thank him. Minato is surprised to hear this and says that Reiki must be mistaking him for someone else because he doesn't recall helping any tortoise in his life. Yama reminds him that when he accidentally exorcised an evil spirit in the market, he freed Reiki, who was trapped by the evil spirit. He also explains that his good luck streak is because of the holy tortoise, but Minato refuses to believe it. Just then, he gets a call from his mom, who is freaking out because Minato entered a lottery before moving out and the results just came out. She tells him that he has won 1 million yen, and Minato finally believes that Reiki has brought him tremendous good luck. He gets on his knees to thank the lucky god, and Yama says that Reiki wants to stay in his pond. Minato asks Yama if he is fine with that because he was here first, and the mountain god replies that this is Minato's garden and he is the only one who gets to make that decision. Minato has no problem with letting a god of luck stay with him, and he decides to welcome Reiki with the special liquor that he won earlier. As soon as the tortoise sees the liquor bottle, he turns into the Flash and appears right next to Minato, who pours the liquor for him. Reiki starts relishing it, and to thank Minato for the wonderful drink, he gifts him some special seeds. Minato is glad to have them and decides to plant them in his garden. Yama warns him that the plants will grow quite tall, so he should choose an open area, and Minato obliges. Once he is done planting the seeds, he asks Yama what kind of seeds they were, and the mountain goat is taken aback at this dumbass for not asking this question earlier. That is bold coming from someone who refuses to answer the question and tells Minato that he will find it out when the plant grows. The next day, Minato brings out some snacks for Yama when he hears a strange voice asking if they can also have some. He looks up and finds a purple gnome and a red gnome hanging upside down in front of his door. Minato freaks out on seeing them, but Yama tells him to calm down because these guys are his old friends. He introduces them as Raijin, the god of thunder, and Fujin, the god of wind, and Minato knows all about them because they are famous in Japanese folklore. He asks Yama if these two cute goblins are the legendary gods, and he affirms. Minato welcomes them and treats them to some cookies, but then Yama's minions come there and they get angry because those cookies were meant for them. Raijin and Fujin tell them to chill because they are his daddy's friends. Yama asks them why they came here, and they reply that they heard that this place was quite comfortable, so they came here to check and were not disappointed. After that, they see Reiki drinking alcohol, and Minato asks them if they would also like a drink. The two gods gladly take up the offer, and after drinking a few bottles, they are fully satisfied. Fujin decides to thank Minato for the snacks and drinks by letting him use his power. He snaps his fingers and a strong breeze suddenly starts circling Minato. He is taken aback by this and wonders what is going on. So Fujin explains that now he can use the power of wind. He tells him to try it out, and one of Yama's minions holds a leaf as Minato's target, while the senior gods tell him to imagine himself creating wind. Minato does as told, and soon, he is able to create a gentle breeze that can move the leaf. Minato is overjoyed at getting superpowers, but Fujin and Yama tell him that this is just the beginning and he needs to practice to become stronger. Minato says he will do that and use this ability to sweep up dried leaves from his garden, and the gods are not sure how they feel about that. On the other hand, Haruma has become the one-punch man of exorcists thanks to the pentagram drawn on his hand by Minato. He hasn't washed his hand in days to keep on using the power of the pentagram, but now it is about to fade. Haruma still can't believe how powerful Minato is to create something so effective. When suddenly, he hears the screams of another exorcist. He rushes to find one guy pressed against the wall while a fearsome ghost monster tries to attack him. The man curses his partner, telling her to do her job and help him out in this situation. But she is too terrified to even move. The ghost attacks the blonde guy, who braces for a curse that will surely kill him. But Haruma comes in clutch at the last moment and exorcises the ghost with Minato's talisman. The blonde guy Akijo notices this, and after the mission is over, he orders his partner to tell him everything she knows about Haruma's shopping memos that have suddenly made him the best exorcist in the region. She replies that she only knows that Haruma got those notes from someone very recently, and Akijo grabs her collar, calling her a useless sloth. The woman decides to hit the blonde bastard right where it hurts and asks him if he is jealous of Haruma because he is clearly better than him. This pisses off Akijo, and the woman uses this chance to run away. Akijo is left all alone and he curses Haruma, swearing that he will never lose to him, no matter what. Back in Minato's house, a brief rainfall ends and he finds that his garden is completely unaffected by it. Yama tells him that it is obviously because his garden is a sacred ground now and natural phenomenon won't affect it. Minato is impressed to hear that, and then his eyes go towards Reiki, who is staring at a small sapling in the garden. Minato realizes that this is the place where he planted the seed yesterday, and today it has already grown that big. Minato is curious about the tree, and Yama tells him that it is the camphor tree, also called Kusunoki tree in Japanese, which is coincidentally Minato's family name. Yama says that this is a sacred tree in this sacred ground, but Minato doesn't know the details about that. All he knows is that trees need nutrition and water to grow, and he immediately gives it some water like a tool, even though it had just rained. The next day, Minato gets some supplies sent over by his mom, and Yama asks if he is planning to go on some hikes when he sees a hiking jacket. Minato replies that he wants to climb Yama's mountain and pay respect to him at his dedicated shrine. Yama warns him that it won't be easy to climb his mountain, but Minato has got his gear ready. Yama gets nostalgic thinking about how people regularly came to visit the shrine in the past. But no one comes there anymore. He tells Minato that his minions will guide him, and the next day, he starts climbing the mountain, which is as tough as Yama warned him. Minato follows the minions, crossing rivers and caves to reach a small wooden shrine. He immediately starts preparing to clean it, and the minions help him with that, telling him that Yama would be really happy to see this. Once they are done, they have some snacks together when suddenly, a dreadful scream fills the air. The minions fly ahead towards its source, and the clueless Minato follows them. he finds them facing a black mist that takes the form of a powerful evil spirit. The spirit attacks one of the minions, who flies into the safety of Minato's arms. Minato is shocked on seeing the evil spirit, and the minions ask him if he can't see that this entire region is overflowing with evil energy. He replies that he is an optimist, so he can only see good things, but if he can see this evil spirit, it must be really strong. The minions start feeling sick of him, and they ask Minato if he has his notepad with him, because that is all they need to win this battle. Minato immediately writes something in his notepad and cautiously approaches the evil spirit, but he is too terrified to face it head-on. Suddenly, he gets an idea and rips out the pages of his notebook and throws them into the air. He then uses Fujin's power to blow the pages towards the evil spirit, and just one of them hits it, which is enough to purify the evil spirit and free the divine being possessed by it. A golden ball falls on the ground and takes the form of a weird creature that Minato can't really figure out. He approaches the mythical creature, asking if it is fine, but the creature is shy and immediately runs away, climbing over a waterfall in an instant. Minato is glad that he could help out someone in need and returns home. The next day, Yama thanks him for cleaning his shrine, and Minato replies that it wasn't a big deal. He then asks him about the spirit he saved in the forest, and Yama replies that he will learn about them soon enough. Minato then focuses on the camphor tree that seems to have stopped growing, even though it grew really quickly in the past couple days. The minions tell him that sacred trees follow different patterns of growth compared to normal trees, so he shouldn't be worried about it. Just then, Reiki approaches him, and since Minato can't understand tortoise, he turns to Yama, who tells him that he has a guest. Minato goes to his gate and finds a dragon in front of him. He is taken aback, but the dragon seems polite, so he lets him in and learns that it is Oryu, one of the 4 holy beasts like Reiki. Minato is surprised to hear that, and then suddenly, Oryu flies over to the camphor tree and roars loudly, summoning clouds on a clear day. It starts raining, and in a matter of seconds, the camphor sapling turns into a full-fledged tree. Minato is mesmerized by this, and then Oryu asks if he can stay in his pond too. Since Reiki has no problem with a roommate, Minato agrees to this, and then welcomes the dragon with some imported wine. While they are enjoying themselves, Yama reveals that Reiki was possessed by an evil spirit, and Haruma freed him using the power of Minato's pentagram, which is why he came here to thank him. Minato is surprised to hear that when his doorbell rings and the guest turns out to be Haruma, who is here for another batch of talismans. Minato gives him the shopping memos and thanks Haruma for bringing luxury sweets whenever he visits him. Minato then asks him if the pentagram he drew worked, and Haruma says that it was exceptional. But this time, he wants him to draw something else because another family has copyrighted the pentagram. Minato draws a grid on Haruma's hand as per his request, and the exorcist goes back to his organization to talk with his teammate whom he trusts with all his secrets. The old man tells him that Minato's power is really amazing, but Haruma needs to keep it a secret or they will be putting a civilian at risk. However, he doesn't know that Ikijo has already started making moves, and he bumps into Minato in the market to stick a talisman on his back so that he can track him. A few days later, Minato is working on his notes because they are his main source of income right now. He tries different types of pens and finds that brush-style pens feel the best in his hand. Meanwhile, Yama keeps a watchful eye on him and on the paper doll that is floating outside the house because it cannot enter the sacred grounds. Minato doesn't know anything about it, even though a couple days earlier, Haruma paid him a visit to warn him about dangers. He asked Minato if there was anything strange happening to him, like an arrogant man visiting his house. Minato replied that nothing of that sort happened, and Haruma told him about Ikijo, who had always been jealous of him, and ever since he saw the new talismans, he has become even more aggressive. Haruma told Minato that Ikijo used paper dolls to spy on people and warned him to be careful, but Minato seems to have forgotten all about that. Luckily, Yama has got his back, and he uses his powers to destroy Ikijo's paper doll to prevent him from gaining any sort of information about Minato. Later, that day Minato is busy writing shopping lists and Yama is reading magazines with him. He is shocked on seeing that a popular sweet shop is going to use chunky red bean paste instead of the regular smooth paste, and declares that this should be a crime. Minato realizes that he goes to this store quite often, and he decides to take Yama with him this time. He is a bit conscious about having a divine wolf with him, but Yama tells him to chill because only the rarest or rare humans can see him. However, there are other people who can smell him, like a schoolgirl, or a religious granny who starts praying the moment she senses Yama's presence. This makes Minato realize that maybe pure-hearted people can sense Yama. He suddenly gets an idea and goes to a pottery store before going to the sweet shop. There he buys an antique cup for Yama because it is honestly an insult to make a god drink out of a dog's bowl. Next, he says that they will buy a pillow, and even though Yama claims that he is an alpha who doesn't like soft stuff, he immediately starts acting like a puppy on experiencing a pillow. However, there are no pillows in his size, so Minato decides to order a custom pillow. With that, they finally head to the sweet shop, where Minato notices that the old shopkeeper looks really healthy and his dark circles have vanished. Yama asks Minato to tell this guy not to use chunky bean paste, but he can't directly say that. Meanwhile, the shopkeeper starts small talk and asks Minato if he has been to the mountain. Minato affirms and the shopkeeper whispers, asking if he met the holy dog there. Yama takes offense to this because he is a wolf, and Minato tells the old man that he hasn't seen any holy dog. He asks him to spill the tea, and the shopkeeper says that long ago, when he was just a crybaby brat, he got lost in the mountains. He found a shrine there, with glowing lights floating around it, and just then, a giant white dog jumped in front of him. The shopkeeper was scared and ran, but Yama followed him barking and roaring at him whenever he went in the wrong direction, and before he knew it, he was back on the road again. The old man says that the holy dog helped him reach home, and ever since that day, he goes to leave him snacks occasionally. He keeps telling Minato more about the holy dog, claiming that it was the spirit of a dead guide dog, and that offends Yama a lot, but he stays quiet. With that, Minato leaves the store, and he remarks that the old man looked really healthy right now. Yama tells him that he has some medical issues that are eating away at his life, and even though he is a god, he cannot cure this man. However, he used his powers to make sure that he stays healthy and happy till he dies, because this way, he will live a little bit longer and pass on the shop to his successor properly. Once they return home, Minato hangs a wind bell as per Yama's request, and then goes to take a bath. A couple minutes later, Ichijo pays a visit to Minato's house after following his paper dolls, and his partner Hori is with him too. She asks Ichijo what does he plan to do when he meets Minato, and he arrogantly replies that he will either buy all of his talismans or have him make talismans exclusively for him. Hori thinks that is a rather tame idea given her partner's personality when she hears the sound of a bell and sees lights flickering above Minato's house. She thinks that there is something special about this place, and in the meantime, Ichijo rings the doorbell. He gets mad like my cat when I get 1 second late in feeding him, and starts ringing the doorbell aggressively. He bangs at the door and curses Minato, telling him to open the door because he came all the way to see him. In his rage, Ichigo tries kicking the door and Hori wants to stop him because she knows it is dangerous, but she is Sakura's sister when it comes to being useless, and she only covers her eyes. Ichijo kicks the gate, but before his foot can even touch it, he is teleported in a creepy forest where everything is red. He sees Yama's shrine in front of him and then looks around, wondering how did he end up here when he was in front of a house right now. He starts panicking on not finding Hori, and the creepy atmosphere of the red forest doesn't help. Ichijo runs away, but a tree root rises by itself to trip him. He falls and smacks his head on a rock, bleeding out slowly and helplessly. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself in front of the shrine again, and his watch shows that not a single second has passed since then. He wonders what is happening and soon realizes that he is royally screwed, and his first instinct is to blame Harima for all of this. He kicks the shrine and runs to find an exit from this place, but the only thing he finds is a pit to fall inside. Ichijo experiences death again, but immediately after that, he wakes up in front of the shrine. The more he tries to escape, the more horrible deaths he dies, and at the end, he gives up trying to escape the nightmare forest. He realizes that he needs to apologize to whoever's shrine he is waking up in front of every time. He begs for mercy, apologizing for his actions and asking to be sent back home. Suddenly, he hears the bell chime, and the next moment, he is back in front of Minato's house. He falls on the ground in shock as the scenery changes and asks Hori how many days have passed since he vanished. She asks him if he is crazy or what because they just got here. This terrifies him even more than being stuck in an alternate dimension for days, and he runs away, screaming his lungs out. Soon after that, Minato comes out of the shower and asks Yama if someone was ringing the doorbell. Yama replies that there was no one, and Minato decides to relax after taking a long hot bath. He tells Yama how much he misses the hot springs from his home, and that gives the mountain god an idea. The next morning, as Minato wakes up, he smells sulfur in the air, and when he goes outside, he finds Yama soaking in a hot spring in the garden. He invites Minato to join him, and he is quick to accept the offer. As they soak in the hot water, Yama tells Minato that last night, he worked with Reiki and Oryu to create this hot spring, and the two of them must be quite tired now. After the bath, Minato relaxes on the floor when suddenly, one of Yama's minions tells him that they have a strange visitor. Oryu also comes there to tell him that the visitor is a friend of his, and Minato goes outside to greet them. He is surprised to see no one at the gate, but then he notices the timid creature he saved in the mountains the other day. The mythical creature hides on seeing Minato, and Yama's minion goes to check over him. He relays the creature's message, who wants permission to enter the house. Minato lets him in, and the creature named Kirin starts talking to him. One minion acts as the interpreter and tells Minato that Kirin is thanking him for saving him in the mountains. Kirin keeps talking for hours, and at the end, he tells Minato that as a reward for saving his life, he will make him the king of half the world. Minato freaks out on hearing that and tells the mythical beast that he is not Mr. Orange who wants to rule half the world. Kirin is shocked on hearing that because he thought all humans want more power, and just then, Raijin and Fujin arrive there to convince him that Minato is not like other people. Minato thanks them for helping him by letting them use his hot spring, and then remarks that they have grown bigger than before. The gods tell him that it is because Minato acknowledges and respects them, which is helping them return to their true form. Fujin then pulls out a huge tuna from his bag and uses his powers to slice it into fine pieces, and Raijin collects them all. The minions are really impressed by this, and they ask Minato if he can do the same. He stammers as he says that he will be able to do it one day, and Fujin decides to see how strong his powers are. He first makes Minato ruffle Yama's fur with his power to see his control. However, Minato loses control soon and Yama sneezes, but tells him to continue massaging him with wind. Fujin says that Minato seems to be holding himself back because he is afraid of hurting people with his power. Just then, he gets a text from his mother, telling him that all the nameplates at their house are broken, and they need a replacement urgently. Minato immediately starts making new nameplates and asks Yama, isn't it strange that the nameplates of his house keep breaking regularly? Yama asks if a non-human lives in his house, and Minato recalls the doll girl spirit. Yama says that the spirit must be breaking the nameplates to let him know that their spiritual power is finished. Minato believes that must be the case and says that he will send the nameplates immediately. He asks Yama if he can make something better than usual, and he affirms, saying that he needs to improve his abilities to make even stronger nameplates. Minato asks how can he do that, and Yama says that he needs to train his wind abilities first for that. Yama asks Minato to follow him to a place where he can try his powers without holding back. He leads him to the back door, and as Minato opens it, he finds it glowing brightly. He walks through the light and comes into the forest, through a divine date. Minato is surprised by this, and Yama tells him that this is the sacred ground created by his minions, and he can unleash his full strength here. Minato replies that he doesn't want to damage the trees, but Yama tells him that they are all fake like his friends. Minato is relieved to hear that and gets ready to try his powers, and at the same time, Kirin visits the house. He doesn't find Minato, so he decides to leave a gift there, which is a durian fruit, and everyone knows that it smells like the underwear of a weak dead hobo. Kirin leaves his gift and takes off, but just then Reiki and Oryu come out of the pond and kick the foul-smelling fruit away. Kirin catches it and asks what the hell they are doing, and the two holy beasts tell him that he shouldn't bring foul-smelling garbage here while the owner of the house is away. Kirin replies that it is a very tasty food, and they can't throw it away because they don't like it. Back in the fake forest, Minato unleashes his full power, creating powerful winds that shake the trees. However, he can't keep it up for long and collapses soon. Yama brings him back to the house, and once Minato regains consciousness, he decides that he needs to train harder to become strong. He keeps training in the fake forest while carving new nameplates for his house, and Yama can tell that there is more spiritual power in them now. A few days later, Minato becomes much better at using Fujin's powers. He can now control wind to create a mini tornado that picks up dry leaves from the ground and deposits them in one spot. He is pleased that the power is finally helpful to him in daily life, and even Yama can see that he has improved a lot. Minato acts humble, saying that he is still nowhere near Fujin's level. But then the wind god himself arrives there to tell him that he should not underestimate himself. He claims that if Minato keeps training, he will become strong enough to split the house of his enemies into two, and Minato nervously replies that he believes in non-violence. Raijin tells him that he should at least try to zap his enemies unconscious once before giving up on violence, but Minato tells him there is no need for that. He then notices that Yama's minions are not with them and asks where are they. Yama replies that they are training right now because they also need to improve a lot. He says that they are currently meditating in the fake forest because earlier, when they faced the evil spirit in the mountain, they were helpless before it. Minato is happy to hear this and hopes they are doing the best, but the minions' meditation has already turned into a group nap session. After that, Minato roasts some sweet potatoes inside the pile of dried leaves and Yama and Oryu enjoy it a lot. Reiki prefers to get drunk instead of eating, while Reijin and Fujin tell Minato that they can make better roasted sweet potatoes than him. He asks them how, and they decide to give him a demo. Fujin lifts the sweet potatoes up in the air, and then Reijin hits them with a current. But instead of just roasting, he burns the sweet potatoes. Minato is disappointed, but just then, he feels something hit his feet. He finds some exotic fruits on the ground with Kirin hiding in the bushes and asks if he is back from his travels around the world. He thanks him for bringing exotic fruits with him as always and offers some of the burnt sweet potatoes. But Kirin thinks that humans love to burn things and creatures, and he might be next on Minato's list. He hides behind the bushes and Minato wonders when this holy beast will open up to him. Yama tells him to get some beer because that is what Kirin likes, and he decides to make a note of it. Just then, his doorbell rings and Minato finds Haruma on his doorsteps, looking extremely exhausted. Haruma collapses on Minato's shoulders immediately, and he takes him inside and gives him some water, while asking if everything is alright. Haruma apologizes for worrying him and then remarks that he is feeling a stronger spiritual pressure today. Minato can't tell him that there are a bunch of gods sitting around him, so he asks Haruma about his condition. The nerd exorcist replies that he needs his help to exorcise a really powerful and evil spirit this time, because all the exorcists of his associations can't do it even if they combine their power. He explains that a few weeks ago, a cursed doll was brought to a temple to be exorcised, but they failed to eradicate the evil spirit inside it. The spirit became increasingly powerful and took over the entire temple, and now there is such a thick evil aura around it that the exorcists can't even approach it. Minato says that he can simply write some new notes to help him, but Haruma explains that the problem is more serious than that. The cursed temple is inside another dimension, and they can't reach it. However, he knows that Minato is not an ordinary man because he lives in a sacred place like this. He also knows that Minato can see and talk to gods and divine spirits, and that comes as a surprise. Yama is not pleased to hear that because he thinks that Haruma wants to use his powers to fulfill his mission. He grows furious and roars at him, telling him to know his place, and Haruma pees himself even though he can't really see Yama. The minions help Yama calm down, and Minato decides to stop hiding the fact that he can talk to gods. He asks Yama if they can enter the separate dimension with his help, and he affirms. He is ready to help, but has a condition, and that condition is to eat some luxurious traditional sweets. Haruma doesn't disappoint him and buys the best sweets he can, which is enough to win Yama's heart. He tells Minato to get ready to enter another dimension, but makes it clear that he will not come along. Instead, he wants his minions to lead Minato and show him the results of their training. The minions are eager to do that as well, and Minato prepares a slip to use against the evil spirit. He leaves the house to Yama and other divine beasts, but he doesn't realize when a leaf of the sacred camphor tree gets stuck in his hoodie. Minato and the minions go to the city where they can meet the exorcists and find the entrance to the other dimension. He follows the map to the exorcist headquarters, but the minions get distracted by some freshly baked apple pies, so Minato decides to treat them first. As they are eating the pies, a bunch of crows appear in front of them and start shouting at them. Minato realizes that they are here to show them the way, and he immediately follows the crows to an abandoned region where the corrupted temple lies. The evil aura is so thick that even Minato can see it, and the minions warn him to be careful. He calls Haruma to inform him that he is at the front gate, and he replies that he is at the rear gate with the other exorcists. Just then, Haruma's partner throws some powerful talismans at the evil aura to clear it, but they simply vanish without doing anything. Haruma warns Minato that he shouldn't push himself here, and if he feels that his life is in danger, he should immediately run away because this is not his responsibility. Minato replies that he will do his best and tries to open the door, but he gets a shock that pushes him back. The minions tell him that they will help him, and they push the door with their divine energy to open it to the other dimension filled with malice and evil energy. Minato runs inside and finds a creepy-looking temple, and the minions tell him that the source of all corruption lies inside. Suddenly, a bunch of evil spirits come flying towards him, and Minato pulls out a note in time to blow them all away. As the evil spirits vanish, the dolls they were possessing fall to the ground. The minions decide that they can't let Minato do all the work, and when the next wave attacks, they take them down. One of the minions gets really excited and doesn't listen to his friends when they tell him to stay alert. Suddenly, a doll that was not completely exorcised attacks him, but luckily, his friends manage to tear the doll's hair and free him. Minato is glad to see that all of them are unharmed, but then the boss of evil spirits comes out itself. Everyone realizes how powerful this evil spirit is, and then it suddenly takes to the skies. The evil spirit lets out a loud scream, and Minato decides to finish the fight quickly. He throws a bunch of memos up in the air and then uses his wind powers to shoot them towards the evil spirit, but it senses danger and uses its hair to tear the talismans and smack the minions away. Minato is worried about them, but then the evil spirit grabs him and completely surrounds him with its hair. As the hairs start tightening around him, Minato fears that he will be crushed to death, and in his hour of crisis, he calls out to Yama, who hears his voice all the way from another dimension. Suddenly, the minions get close to Minato and tell him not to worry because they will free him. They channel Yama's power through their body and also his howl that deal tremendous damage to the evil spirit and immobilizes it. Minato is free now, and he decides to exorcise the evil spirit immediately. He writes directly on the doll, and the evil spirit inside it rushes away. He is glad that everything is over, but the minions tell him that there is still a lot of evil energy inside the temple. Minato goes inside and finds an orb trapped in evil energy. The minions tell him that it is a mountain god that was corrupted by evil forces, and it is in a lot of pain. They say that if they can exorcise him, the problem will be completely solved, and Minato gets to work. He searches his pockets, but there are no more talismans there. But luckily, he has brought his notepad along. He makes a dozen talismans to purify the mountain god's spirit. But the writing fades without having any effect. Suddenly, the temple begins to tremble as the alternate dimension falls apart, and one of the minions stumbles inside Minato's hoodie. There he finds a leaf and excitedly tells Minato that he can use it. Minato realizes that it is the leaf of the sacred camphor tree, and it must have more power than anything else. He immediately starts writing on the leaf, even though he has almost run out of spiritual power. He writes his family name on the leaf and uses its power on the corrupted mountain god, and luckily, it is enough to exorcise the evil energy possessing it. The mountain god is freed and Minato picks up the orb, but just then, the alternate dimension starts collapsing. Minato pucks the orb inside his bag and runs out, but there doesn't seem to be enough time to get out of the alternate dimension. The minions freak out and say that they will vanish if they can't get out of this dimension in time. The world starts breaking, and then suddenly, a tree falls on top of them. Minato freaks out on seeing this, but then suddenly, the tree is split into two along with the house, and he falls down a crack in the ground. When he wakes up, Minato finds himself back on Earth, in front of the destroyed temple, and he wonders how did he reach here. Just then, Reijin and Fujin arrive there, telling him that if he was stronger, he could have also done this because this was just slashing the house of his enemy in two. Minato thanks them for saving him and then returns to his house. The next day, Haruma visits Minato to thank him for helping him and gives him a bag full of sweets. Minato asks him to join them for barbecue party, but Haruma refuses because he has PTSD from how angry Yama was furious last time. Minato then goes inside where everyone is enjoying the barbecue and Yama is eating sweets instead. Minato tells them that Haruma has given them some sweets and everyone gets excited to eat them instead. Reiki and Oryu are busy drinking while Reijin and Fujin are soaking in the hot springs. Minato brings some cold booze for them to enjoy while they enjoy a hot bath, and Kirin watches them timidly from a distance. Minato notices him and says that he has got beer too, and the timid holy beast finally gathers up courage because no self-respecting dude says no to beer. He rolls a durian fruit towards Minato as a gift, and he picks it up out of curiosity. However, Reiki appears there just then and kicks the fruit away with his full power. Kirin is hurt by that, and Reiki tells him that he already said not to bring such garbage inside a sacred ground. Kirin yells that it is durian, a respectable fruit, and kicks it back at him. Reiki kicks it again, but Kirin is also a pro at volleyball, so he hits it back. Suddenly, Oryu joins the match and punches the durian away, but then he starts whining that now his hands are going to smell foul. Minato laughs at this and then sees the leaves of the camphor tree falling. He thanks the tree for helping him in the desperate situation, when suddenly, the minions call him because the orb is glowing. It suddenly transforms into a baby chicken, and Yama tells him that it is the last of the four holy beasts, the phoenix. Minato is glad to see the phoenix and welcomes him to his house, and the phoenix is very happy to be there as well. A few days later, Minato brings some fusion desserts for Yama, who suddenly starts speaking English after eating a combination of strawberry and red bean paste. Minato is thankful for the maker of the dessert that got a mountain god so happy, but then his attention goes to the phoenix who has already become the king of the birds. He asks Yama to translate what the birds are talking about, and the wolf god replies that the phoenix is teaching the birds how to chirp properly. Duolingo Owl's pink cousin gives the birds detailed lessons about controlling their pitch and voice throw, and it's a miracle that some of the birds are able to do as he says and let out a decent chirp. The last one fails miserably and gives Phoenix an aneurysm in his kidney. Minato enjoys the entire exchange because he doesn't understand bird and enjoys the peaceful spring in his garden with gods chilling all around him, all unaware of a hole in space and time above the town. At the same time, Haruma is not happy about spring because springtime brings forth a lot of minor evil spirits that need to be exorcised. He works with his partner who summons a shark and a penguin who eat evil spirits, but just as they finish one job, Haruma gets a message about another one. The next day, Minato goes shopping, and just as he is about to return home, everyone starts paying him a lot of attention. They call him the Bird Whisperer and Batman's third copy, Pigeon Boy, because he is surrounded by all sorts of birds. Minato freaks out at this and decides to take his leave from the area immediately. He tells Phoenix that this happens every time they go out together, and the little bird affirms. Just then, Minato runs into the local gardener who has turned a garden hedge into creepy-faced mascots. Minato greets him and asks the reason behind turning this hedge into something so weird, and the gardener replies that the owner of the house told him to let his creativity shine. He then remarks that ever since he worked at Minato's garden, he has been on a roll, and physically too. He feels better than ever. Suddenly, a bunch of pigeons sit on the grass statues, and Minato dashes away before the pigeons color the gardener's hard work white. Back at home, Yama notices something strange, and instantly, his minions come to warn him that a lot of abandoned divine realms are opening up in the mountains and Minato is not yet home. Yama tells them that they don't need to worry as long as Daddy's home. He decides to handle the divine realms himself and flies towards them, with his minions following his lead. Minato is still walking back when he notices that all the birds have vanished. He is confused and curious when suddenly, Reijin and Fujin appear in front of him, telling him to rush home as soon as he can. They tell him that today is an outbreak of abandoned divine realms and evil spirits, and Minato doesn't understand the divine realms part. The gods explain to him that there are millions of gods in this world, and even more divine realms, which are sacred grounds just like his garden. Some of those divine realms are abandoned by their gods, and they pop up occasionally. Just then, a portal to one divine realm appears in the sky, and Reijin uses his thunder to seal it away. Minato is shocked to see this, and the gods tell him that these portals can appear anywhere, and sometimes humans are sucked into them. Minato understands everything now and realizes that the birds might have entered the portals as well. The gods tell him not to be so calm about the situation because he is in the most danger. They explain that his affinity with the divine elements is really high, and if he gets pulled into a divine realm, he won't get out by himself. Minato thanks them and promises to be careful, so the twin gods decide to take their leave. They tell Minato that Yama is already out, closing the portals, and go away with that. Minato is worried now, so instead of going home through the regular route, he decides to take a shortcut. On the way, he sees an old and run-down shrine that grabs his attention. Suddenly, two invisible spirits whisper in his ear that he should stay away from this place, but Minato becomes a little deaf at the exact moment and doesn't pay attention to their warning. He keeps staring at the shrine like a Dumbo when suddenly, the shrine gate opens and a portal starts sucking him inside. Minato can't resist the pull, so the phoenix decides to help him out. It jumps out of his bag and transforms into its glorious form, but that is mainly for aura farming. It runs out of power almost instantly and returns to its chick form to get swallowed into the portal alongside Minato. They wake up in a forest where moss covers the entire ground. Minato finds it hard to breathe in the divine realm, so he starts looking for an exit, but then notices a bunch of wooden boxes on the ground. He remembers that Yama once talked about how the sacred grounds reflect the mind of their creators, and it is the place they find most comfortable. Minato thinks that the creator of this place must love boxes when suddenly, he finds a giant cave in front of him. He enters the cave and finds that the air there is even more dense and prickly there. He keeps walking despite that, and soon finds a woman sleeping inside the cave. Minato panics for a bit, but then realizes that she might be the one who created this divine realm. The woman suddenly wakes up and starts complaining how poor the ventilation of her cave is, but she is too lazy to make any changes about that. Minato calls out to the lazy, unmotivated baddie and asks if she is the god who created this divine realm. The woman affirms and then asks what is a human doing here. She then notices Phoenix in Minato's fanny pack and gets even more confused. She once again asks Minato if he is lost because she didn't call him here. He replies that a lot of portals to abandoned divine realms have opened up on Earth, and the goddess is offended on hearing this because she hasn't abandoned her home. Suddenly, she realizes that her power must have grown weak, and Minato affirms, saying that her shrine was uncared for. The goddess sighs on seeing that, but she doesn't really care too much about people worshipping her. She suddenly notices that Minato has Fujin's power and asks him if he can ventilate the cave for her. He is taken aback at the request, but then he learns that the goddess has not had her cave ventilated in over 1,000 years. She tells him to get to work as she goes back to sleep, and Minato asks if she will send him back home once he is done. The goddess tells him to stop pestering her because she will obviously send him back, and then suddenly, she opens a portal. Minato is happy that he gets to go home so quickly, but the goddess tells him that it is for throwing the wooden boxes. Minato doesn't ask any questions and starts using his wind power to send the boxes into the portal, while the goddess just relaxes and watches him. At the same time, Yama and his minions are clearing up the abandoned divine realms that are opening up in the sky. Once they are done, Yama tells his minions that they need to rescue Minato now. The minions are surprised to hear this, but Yama tells them that a little while ago, he heard the Phoenix asking for help. They get ready to find and rescue Minato when suddenly, more portals appear in the sky and they are heading towards Minato's house. Yama thinks it will be hard to deal with all of them quickly, but luckily, Fujin and Raijin appear just then and destroy the portals with their power. They offer their help and Yama is glad to have them on the team. The twin gods tell him that he can take a break if he wants, but Yama starts aura farming instead and destroys a bunch of portals with a single roar. Meanwhile, in the cave, Minato finishes chugging all the boxes into the portal, and the goddess is happy with that. However, her main complaint about the air quality of the cave remains unsolved. Minato has a quick fix for that, and he uses a bunch of camphor leaves from his garden to dispel the nasty air that had gathered inside the cave. The goddess is really impressed by this and asks Minato what those leaves were. He tells her about the sacred camphor tree in his garden, and she asks if he carries the leaves with him all the time. He affirms, saying that the leaves saved his life a little while ago, so he always keeps them with him. The goddess excitedly asks if he has more of those leaves because she wants them, and he happily gives them to her. The goddess sniffs the strong scent of one leaf, and then decides to thank Minato for his work by giving him her powers. Before he can even reply to that suggestion, the goddess points her finger at Minato's head and wirelessly transfers her power to him. Minato asks her what kind of power is it, and the goddess replies that it is the power to seal things. She explains that her power can seal things that cannot be seen, like negative feelings, troublesome desires, supernatural powers, and the rest. She says that using her power, he can seal things like those in anything he wants. Minato finally understands what all those wooden boxes were for, and the goddess affirms, saying that people pray to her to seal away their negative feelings or desires, so she locks them up in wooden boxes. She tells Minato that he doesn't have to use wooden boxes and can use anything that feels convenient to him. She even makes it clear that he doesn't have to use her power, and if he trains hard enough, he can even seal the power if he doesn't want it. The goddess gets sleepy as she says this and starts dozing off mid-sentence, causing Minato to panic. He tries to wake up the goddess because he needs to find an exit, but she is already too deep in sleep to help him. Minato wonders if it is a good idea to forcefully awaken a sleeping god when suddenly, he hears the voice of Yama's minions as they pop out of a white portal. He is delighted to see them and quickly steps out of the divine realm using the portal. The minions apologize for taking so long to rescue him because they had their hands full. They say that Minato must have been very stressed, and he replies that he was with a really old god who was lazy and unmotivated. He tells the minions that she gave him the power to seal things, and they reply that she must have been Amaterasu. Minato's socks are blown off on hearing this because Amaterasu is the sun god, one of the main gods of Japanese mythology, and he never pictured her like that. Anyway, they walk back home and Minato asks the minions how did they find him. They tell him that the Phoenix's cry gave them an idea of their last location, and Minato now understands that it didn't go Super Saiyan just to aura farm. The minions tell him to also thank the wind spirits because they guided them here. Minato is confused by this, so the minions ask him if he didn't hear anything before he was sucked inside the divine realm. He remembers the voices clearly warning him about the danger now, and the minions say that it must be hard for him to notice them right now, but he needs to focus, and he will clearly see them. Minato follows their advice and focuses as hard as he can. He can hear the voices of the wind spirits telling him that they are happy that he survived. He still can't see them, but he thanks the wind spirits for helping him return from the divine realm. Soon, Minato reaches home with some sweets for everyone, and he is astonished to see that Yama has reverted to his puppy form after using up all his power. He claims that if he eats the desserts that Minato brought, he will reach his glorious form in no time. Minato remarks that he looks really adorable when he is tiny, and he is the perfect size to play with the other gods right now. Yama, however, is not pleased to hear that, and he tells Minato that he is a respected mountain god and not a puppy. A few days pass after that, and Minato is worried because Phoenix has still not gotten up from his sleep. He feels that Phoenix used too much of its power when it turned into its original self to call for help, and now he is having trouble recovering that energy. Yama tells him to chill because the Phoenix is a divine beast and it won't lose its power so easily. Minato believes him and decides to focus on other things instead. He goes to the living room where a bunch of wooden boxes are scattered and Yama follows him to see what is he doing. Minato tells him that he is trying to use the power he got from Amaterasu gave him, and he plans to trap his power to exorcise evil spirits into the box because that can help Harima and others. Yama thinks that is a good idea as well because Minato is always emitting positive energy. Minato writes something on the lid of the box and then closes it. But Yama tells him that he hasn't been able to trap the energy because it is leaking out of the box. He tells Minato that simply writing on the lid won't be enough and he needs to imagine sealing the power inside the box. A little later, Minato gives Yama a huge bowl of matcha tea. The mountain god asks him about his training with sealing things and Minato replies that he is still struggling with it. He adds that a client was coming to see the house, but he bailed out at the last minute, which makes it the third client who cancelled the trip to the house. Minato doesn't understand why people are not showing interest in this beautiful house located in a peaceful town. He says that there is a beautiful garden with a bunch of gods living in it, so people should be going crazy after it. Yama keeps enjoying the sweets as he smirks and says that humans are really fickle-minded. Minato says that he cleaned the house and even got some Japanese sweets ready, but Yama is glad that he can eat all the sweets now. Suddenly, he notices the colors of the sweets that remind him that the spring season has started. He looks at the garden that is filled with greenery and flowers, but that is not enough to please the mountain god. He uses his power and suddenly makes a bunch of cherry blossom trees bloom in the garden because it is not spring unless there are cherry blossoms. Minato is mesmerized by this, but then he looks at Yama and gets flabbergasted on seeing that he has become a puppy once again. Yama tells him to chill because this is not new for him. He starts munching on the sweets that are now comparatively bigger for him. Minato asks him how did he suddenly transform the garden and Yama replies that he used his eyes because that is the easiest way for him. His words remind Minato that Amaterasu told him to use her powers in a way that suits him. He wonders what works for him and then decides to seal his power in his notepad instead of boxes. Just then, some birds arrive in the garden and start chirping sweetly. Minato and Yama enjoy this peaceful atmosphere until the last bird messes it up and starts screeching instead of chirping. Minato immediately calls Phoenix, telling him that the birds need his lessons, and the Phoenix immediately awakens and flies outside in his full glory. He immediately starts lecturing the bird that messed up, and Minato also decides to work hard. The next morning, Yama's minions lead Minato to the mountain, telling him to hurry up because they are getting late to dig out bamboo shoots. Minato asks them why are they going all the way to the mountain when he can buy bamboo shoots from the market. And the minions tell him that natural bamboo shoots are delicious and eating them might increase his spiritual power. Minato decides to believe them, but he still doesn't think hiking the mountains first thing in the morning is a good idea. Meanwhile, the gods are chilling in his garden and Fujin tells Yama that he put the guy trying to buy the house in his divine realm for a bit and then kicked him out, spooking him so much that he will never return here. Yama calls him heartless for that and Raijin reminds him about how he treated the exorcist who tried kicking the gate. Fuji is completely on Yama's side here, and he says that any human who dares to kick the gates of a god deserves that treatment. The twin gods are having fun drinking and chatting when suddenly, they notice an abandoned divine realm moving towards the mountain. Yama says that it is following Minato, and Raijin decides to save him by dispelling the divine realm with his thunder. He remarks that it is unnatural for a human to attract divine realms, but Fujin says that Minato lives with gods, which must have influenced him greatly. They start talking about how he got stuck in Amaterasu's realm earlier and Fujin says that maybe he should give Minato more power to get out of situations like that. Yama immediately rejects that idea, saying that if they give any more power to Minato, he will stop being a human, and they should just help him utilize his power better. Back on the mountains, Minato reaches the place where bamboo plants grow, but he realizes that he hasn't brought the proper tools to dig out the shoots. Suddenly, a black bear comes there and starts roaring at him. Minato craps his pants and wonders if he should play dead to avoid getting eaten by the bear when Yama suddenly possesses the body of one of its minions. He tells Minato to chill because the bear is actually friendly. The bear roars once again, and the minions translate that he is thanking Minato for taking care of his chief, which is Kirin. The bear wants to thank him somehow, and it decides to use its powerful claws to dig out bamboo shoots for Minato. Soon, a pile of shoots are at Minato's feet, and he asks if the bear wants him to take them. The minions affirm, and then relay that the bear is telling Minato to eat them right away because bamboo shoots taste the best when they are fresh. Even Yama agrees with that, so Minato and others work hard to peel and chop the bamboo shoots before eating them with soy sauce and wasabi. As they enjoy the snack, Minato asks Yama how eating bamboo shoots is going to make him stronger. Yama tells him that it is not going to do anything for his spiritual power. He reveals that Minato was really stressed about using Amaterasu's power, so he decided to give him a change of pace. Minato affirms that he feels calmer after hiking and eating delicious bamboo shoots, and now he can also understand animals a little. The next day, Minato challenges Yama to his version of Jenga using Japanese chess pieces, and Yama can't even compete with him because of his tiny paws. He gets upset and demands a rematch, but when he is about to lose that as well, he uses his powers to make Minato lose. As they are bickering about it, the pond suddenly starts radiating a golden light and Minato panics. Yama tells him that it must be some god who lost their way and ended up here, so he shouldn't worry too much about it. Just then, a pillar of water erupts from the pond, and a horizontally gifted fisherman jumps out of it. He introduces himself as God Ibisu and assures Minato that he is not a shady guy. Minato turns to Yama for confirming that, but the mountain god is already asleep, leaving him all alone. Ibisu takes a seat and Minato nervously asks him how did he end up here. Ibisu replies that he heard rumors of a human who got powers from gods, so he got curious and came here. Just then, Kirin comes there to take a can of bear, and as soon as Ibisu sees him, he feels the tension rise. He says that he doesn't want to lose to this guy no matter what, but then ends up thinking that this feeling is what humans call love. Minato is shocked to hear this because this makes Ibisu even more degenerate than furries, but he is not one to judge other people's taste. Ibisu then remarks that he has a beautiful garden and a hot spring on top of that, and Minato asks him to feel free to use it. Ibisu asks Yama for permission as well, and once he gets approval, he pulls out a bag of fish-shaped snacks to thank him. Yama immediately wakes up on seeing the snacks, and then Ibisu jumps into the hot spring. He notices Minato pouring out some drinks and remarks that he is straying from his path, which Minato doesn't understand. The next day, it rains in the middle of the day, and when the rain ends, Minato goes outside to do some stretching. He notices a tiny fox with a bundle tied around her neck, sitting on the fence, and she is smitten by the hot spring in Minato's garden. He is surprised to see another visitor, and then the black fox flies towards him, asking if he is the owner of this place. Minato tells her that he is just its caretaker, and the fox continues glancing at the hot spring. He asks her if she wants to get in, and she acts flustered, saying that she is on an important errand right now so she can't stop. However, when Minato pushes her a bit, she says that the errand isn't urgent. Minato decides to pull out the ultimate card to convince her to stay and tells her that he is making some fried sushi for lunch, and she should join him. The fox immediately jumps on this offer and then introduces herself as Tsumugi, the minion of the mountain god who lives in the nearby mountain. Minato is surprised to hear that there are other mountain gods nearby, but Tsumugi is more interested in knowing if the fried sushi is homemade, because that is the best. Minato affirms but adds that he is not that confident in his cooking skills. Tsumugi tells him that it doesn't matter because anything that is made by caring human hands is priceless. Just then, Yama wakes up on hearing her rambling and Tsumugi immediately goes to pay respect to him. Yama is pleased to see her and tells her to eat well before going into the hot spring. Minato is shocked to see Yama act like a god for once, and the wolf god starts glowing as he declares that he acts like a god all the time. Tsumugi also adds that Yama is not any ordinary mountain god, and he is actually one of the big shots. After that, Minato brings out the fried sushi, and Tsumugi is overwhelmed by its deliciousness. Once she finishes eating, she declares that it is against her code to owe anyone a favor, so she will give him a gift in return. She takes out a golden peach from her bundle and gives it to Minato, saying that she harvested it back at their garden, which is as good as his garden. She tells Minato that this peach is only for gods, so he shouldn't eat it, but it smells really nice and will never rot. so he can use it as a decoration and natural air freshener. Minato is not sure if he can have something so valuable, and Tsumugi tells him that her master gave it to her because it proves that their garden is superior to everyone else. Minato decides to accept the peach and asks Yama what should he do with it. Yama casually replies that he will eat it later, and then Minato asks him if he knows Tsumugi's master. Yama gives him an unclear answer and goes back to sleep. So the confused Minato turns to Tsumugi and asks her to enjoy the hot spring. She asks him if he also bathes in the hot spring, and he affirms, saying that he uses it every day. Tsumugi replies that it explains why he doesn't feel like a human, and that confuses Minato even more. Anyway, Tsumugi enjoys soaking in the hot springs and then flies home, after which Minato finally talks to Yama about how much he has changed. He says that he felt he was not an ordinary human any longer, and earlier, when Ibisu said he was straying from his path, he meant that he was straying away from being a human. Yama silently affirms all that, and Minato says that he is afraid of becoming something that he doesn't recognize. Yama tells him that even with his powers, he is still himself. Minato asks him if he will be able to die as a human, and Yama promises him that he will be able to do that. So he should master his powers without holding back. He even drops a hint that the secret behind sealing things away might be in his past, and Minato is reminded of the house spirit that he first met when he was 5 years old. Minato remembers the day when the house spirit called Warashi left a 4-leafed clover in the place where he used to offer snacks for her. Minato ran outside to tell his grandpa about it, and the old man was really happy to learn that the house spirit had become friends with his grandson. He told Minato that it was Warashi's way of thanking him, and just then, the spirit appeared before him, asking to eat snacks together. Minato became good friends with the spirit and even taught her a skipping game. While they played around, his grandpa silently watched them while dealing with other spirits that Minato could not see then. There was also a mischievous monkey spirit named Hihai, who used to pull pranks on Minato by snatching his hat when he returned home from school. Minato asked him to return the hat, but Hihai started messing with him more. Minato ran inside to complain to his grandpa about the mischievous spirit, but the old man just told him that Hihai was incredibly bored, so he was just playing around with him. Minato got angry on hearing this boomer's response and said that Hihai couldn't bully him just because he was bored. His grandpa refused to intervene and said that it was up to him if he could become friends with the monkey spirit. Minato was disappointed on hearing this, and the next day, as he came back from school, he watched his surroundings cautiously to avoid the monkey spirit. However, it was all for nothing, as the monkey was hanging upside down from the roof's edge while waiting for him, and he stole his hat once again. Minato tried getting it back, but Hihai kept it away from him and started laughing at him instead. Minato was frustrated, but this time, he had a solution. He told Hihai that if he returned his hat and didn't tease him in the future, he could have his snacks. The monkey spirit immediately came down from the roof and tried to take away the snack, but Minato told him to return his hat first. Hihai immediately put the hat back on his head and took the snack bar, and even though Minato was low-key pissed, it was the beginning of his friendship with the monkey spirit. A couple years later after that, Minato's grandpa passed away, and he became really sad. That year, when he was returning home from school with his friend Ranma, a strange incident occurred. Ranma started complaining that it was a very hot day, and Minato told him to think about things that would cool them down instead of whining. Even though he knew Delulu is not the Solulu, Ranma joined Minato in thinking about shaved ice and ice cream. When nothing worked, he returned to complaining, but then Minato saw the face of a giant spirit hiding behind the trees. As the gigantic spirit rose up from its place, Minato remembered words of wisdom from his grandpa, who told him to run home as fast as possible if he saw any spirits outside, because all spirits were not friendly. Minato told Ranma that they should race home to have their ice cream, but he turned lazy and refused. Just then, the giant spirit stretched its hand to grab them, and Minato freaked out, thinking they were done for. But the next second, he heard the sound of a clap, and the monster was gone. Minato wondered what happened when a mysterious man arrived there and told them that they shouldn't stand in the sun for too long. He asked for the address of the local hot springs, and Minato and his friend took him there, boasting about how popular they were and how one had to book rooms days in advance. The man, a bit disheartened on hearing that rooms were hard to find, and told Minato that he would ask at his family inn to see if they could make any arrangements. Minato was surprised at this because he never told the man that his family ran an inn. Anyway, the mysterious stranger stayed at their family inn because another customer canceled at the last moment, freeing a room. Minato noticed the spirits acting restless and staying far away from his room, even though he could not understand why. Later that evening, as he was doing his homework and complaining about how pointless it was, the man suddenly came up to him and praised his handwriting. He said that it looked like Minato's pure heart was within the letters and told him to treasure his gift. Minato was really inspired by his kind words and started making nameplates for his family after that day. As he ends yapping about his past, Minato tells Yama that the mysterious stranger must have had the ability to see the spiritual power in his handwriting. Yama says that the man must be a traveling exorcist, who are different from the traditional exorcists because they are not trained formally. However, if the spirit stayed away from him, he must be considerably powerful. Everything makes sense to Minato now. And then Yama asks him how is his progress with the sealing ability. Minato replies that he is trying to seal the power to banish evil spirits in paper instead of wooden boxes now, and Yama tells him that the hint to master that ability is in his long flashback. Minato doesn't understand what he is talking about, so Yama reminds him what the mysterious stranger said the core of his power was. Minato recalls that he said his pure heart was inside his writing, and he immediately sets off to try the idea. He writes heart on a page and imagines locking his heart in his words. The new technique works, and he is able to seal his power on paper, much to his delight. On the other hand, Haruma and his partner are working with a bunch of female exorcists, who face off against evil spirits on their own while aura farming. However, when a huge number of evil spirits threaten to overwhelm them, they turn to Haruma for the special talismans made by the Jade One, who is actually Minato. The talismans immediately blow away the evil spirits, and then the bossy mommy in the group asks Haruma how many more talismans they have. He says they are all out, and the mommy tells him to get more immediately. Soon after that, Haruma reaches Minato's home, and as soon as he enters the gate, the spiritual pressure literally pushes his body down. He wonders if it is because of multiple gods living in the area, but somehow makes it to the backyard. Minato asks if he is alright, and Haruma says he is fine, but then he notices some splashes in the pond and worries that the holy beasts are enraged at him. Minato can see that it is just Dragon playing around, so he tells Haruma not to worry about anything. He then pulls out the new batch of talismans made by sealing his power inside them. He tells Haruma that the power won't leak out, so these talismans will work for longer. The nerd exorcist thanks him as he receives the talismans, but then his shoulder starts hurting. He tells Minato that there has been an outburst of evil spirits lately, but before he can elaborate, Reijin and Fujin come there. They notice that Haruma looks incredibly worn out, so Reijin gets an idea and asks if he should shock him. Minato quickly relays that question to Haruma, but before he can give an answer, Reijin gives him a powerful shock that knocks him out. Later that day, Minato and Yama go to the market to buy some snacks. Minato is still worried about Haruma, but Yama tells him that the exorcist should be fine. He is more concerned about the new snacks they have bought when they pass by some boxes reeking of evil spirits. Minato feels something is wrong and asks Yama if he feels it too. Before Yama can react to it, a portal to an abandoned divine realm opens behind them and sucks them both in. They fall inside an abandoned cake, and Yama blames himself for getting too distracted with the sweets and not noticing the portal open up. Minato can sense that this is an abandoned divine realm, and Yama affirms, saying that it was created by a god who is not particularly strong. He says that Minato can tear open an exit with his wind powers, but just as he starts to do it, he gets doubtful and stops. Minato asks Yama what will happen to the god of this realm if they destroy it. Yama warns him that they need to destroy this realm quickly, or it will attract more impurity, but Minato doesn't want to hurt someone in the process. Yama says that it is just like him, and says they should look for the god of this realm first. They travel around the cave until they find an old cursed sword stuck in the ground. Minato asks if this is the god of this realm, and Yama affirms. Minato asks if this is the god of swords, and the mountain god tells him that it is not. He can sense that the sword is made by humans who channeled a divine spirit to inhabit it. Minato feels a tightening in his chest that tells him that the corrupted god is angry. Yama tells him he is right and asks what is he going to do. Minato replies that the god is angry because it wasn't respected, which is clear by how it is rusted all over. He believes that if the sword was cared for, the god would be happy and wouldn't have turned out like this. He doesn't want to eliminate the god, and instead tries to purify it using his new talismans. Thanks to the intense energy sealed inside the talismans, he is able to get rid of the evil energy around it, and Yama tells him to leave the rest to him. He claims that he has never taken care of another god before, so he doesn't know if it is going to work, but he will still try. Minato is not so sure about it now, but Yama says YOLO and touches the sword that starts glowing with divine energy. When the flash of light ends, the sword is nowhere to be seen, and Yama says that he rescued it. Minato is glad, but his happiness is short-lived as the cave starts collapsing. Yama tells him to use his abilities to get them out instantly, or they will die with this realm. At the same time, Harema's partner is hunting evil spirits with his spirit whale, wondering if Ichijo and Hori are even doing their job. Turns out Ichijo is a useless moron like always who needs to be rescued by his partner Hori. Despite that, he calls her a slowpoke and starts fat-shaming her. So she plays the sound of a bell on her phone, which is enough to trigger his PTSD from the time he got caught in Yama's illusion. Harema's cousins are also there, fighting against the evil spirits while their energy runs out. But he comes to the scene just then and exorcises all the evil spirits with the new talismans. The girls are impressed by the talisman maker and they start fantasizing about him, when suddenly, a portal appears behind them, emitting bright jade light. Minato walks out of the portal with Yama in his arms, and the girls are sure that this guy is the Jade One who supplies their cousin with the talismans. Minato is shocked to see Harema with so many girls and wonders if that is his harem, but Yama says since it's not Alabama, that is highly unlikely. Minato decides to head home instead of unnecessary interactions, but just then, Harema's partner comes running to see him. His hat reminds Minato of the mysterious stranger, but he doesn't think that he would turn into an old man with no riz and no aura. He returns home with that and starts enjoying the sweets with Yama, who returns to his original size. The sword god he rescued has turned into an orb, and Yama says that he will make this one his minion when it has fully recovered. Minato gets an idea and places the orb in a statue inside the garden, hoping that it will help him recharge his energy sooner. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.